Welcome to SBR F1 Season 2 1991 Round 3. And the drivers are tackling Spa in Belgium, one of the toughest tracks on GT Sport. But before that, let's go to the grid and look out for the new tyre allocation graphics, which will tell you what tyres the guys are on, softs or hards. So that's the grid and we're ready for a green light. Lewis on pole again, and he's got a good start. A little bit of wheel spin. His teammate following just behind. And already there's a Leighton House in the pit wall, and that's Michael. He's lost it already. Watts is in the wall. And, well, here comes Nathan. Already past Jake. Just behind his teammate, and there's Michael recovering. Jake slots in behind Nathan as we head to Eau Rouge and Radion. And up through. What a sight as the cars blast through there. Absolutely on the absolute limit. Michael not quite on the limit yet, and Nathan pulls out from his teammates, and no team orders at Williams, and the number 6 car passing the 5 car as Jake tries to get involved as well, and they all head into Les Combes side by side. Who's going to come out on top? Nathan squeezes his teammate into Jake into the wall, and well, bit of a racing incident there, but also the Ferrari struggling. He's got Adam around the outside in the Jordan, and he's got through, so not a great start for Sean. Meanwhile, just behind those guys, the first of the hard tyre runners is Ben, and he's up to 9th place, so from 13th. But Nathan it is that leads from Liam. Liam squeezed through after all that shenanigans. He's up to 2nd place, so the guys from the second row are up into 1st and 2nd place. Then it's Lewis. Jake drops back down to 4th place. Then it's Adam and Sean, and the first of the Benetons, which is Chris, as Will on his soft tyres tries to go around the outside of Ben on the hard tyres, can't do it there. And Luke's up there quite well in the Brabham, up in 11th place. Dean last at the moment, but he's on the hard tyre, remember, as you saw from the graphics on the grid sequence. But Nathan it is that's got the good lead. He's pulling away from Liam. Ben still holding up the soft tyre runner Will, who's trying to get through, try not to lose too much time behind that Ferrari. It all depends how long he stays out. Most of the time people just use these tyres for one lap. But already frantic stuff here at Spa. Will down the inside of Ben. Will Ben see him just about, I think. But he's going to pit now. Now Luke's over the curb and into the side of Will as Ben pits to get rid of these tyres. It seems he's had a bit of a dress code problem here. He's got his touring car overalls on, hence the pit crew. Bit of a faux pas there. But Ben in, and his brother Dean also in with the Tyrrell. There he is, so they're going to the soft tyres. That's them done with the hard tyre now. They can push on for the rest of the race, but Nathan already stretching away from Liam, who's got Lewis behind him. Jake already starting to move in on the back of Lewis as Sean tries to go around the outside of Adam. He needs to get this done and start chasing down those leaders, and he's got it done in the lead Ferrari. And Chris also looking at that move. Nick on his debut in the Leighton House doing a pretty good job as well. Will have got rid of the Ferraris, now got Brian all over him. And then it's Nick, Leon, Luke, and then Ben, who's pitted, and Dean's trying to go around the outside of Michael, but Michael's crashed to the side of him, hence why Michael's waiting. He'll flash down towards Pouon now. Sean will be desperate to get back after those leaders. Nick all over the back of Chris. Chris moving around quite a lot on the straight there. It's a bit unusual, it looks a bit laggy. And Brian maybe losing out to Nick here as Nick tries to get down the inside at the Fania chicane, which I call Piff Paff. I'm right, Liam, you're not. And Nathan still stretching away from the aforementioned Liam, but Liam now has got Lewis all over him. So I'll try to get my words right. and into Blanchimont side by side is not something that you should really think about doing, but Lewis is going to do it anyway. A bit of contact before the corner. Liam's powerless to stop Lewis sliding down the inside, and Liam's going to go down to third place. I think Liam's fighting back, but I think Lewis will have to drive out of the last chicane, out of the bus stop, and takes the position. Now he's got his teammate behind him, and I would imagine there's going to be a bit of team play here. And down the inside goes Jake. Lewis and Liam gives him all the room in the world, and that's fair team play, I think, because Jake's winning this championship right now after 2 wins in the opening 2 races at Fuji and Autopolis, as Leon tries to attack one of the Brabhams, the Tyrrell of Nick, and the Brabham of Luke gets sideways, so Luke's dropped back a little bit. Into pits comes Michael to get rid of his hard tyres. He's done 2 laps on them. And wow, what a frantic start here at Spa, and it's not finished yet. Jake going around the outside of Lewis to take second place and trying now to go after the lead Williams of Nathan. Lewis hits the back of Jake, gets all squirrely on the curb, and that's got Liam all over him. Liam a bit too much curb there on the inside, just slows down as he hits the bollards. And again, into the middle part of the lap. If it carries on like this, I will have no voice left. Will in 9th place, pulled away from this battle now. And Ben just starting to home in on it. And this will not be good for him with his strategy. He needs clear space, and it really wasn't going to get it, so I don't really know what Ferrari thought they were doing by splitting their cars. And wow, Liam's gone real agricultural there. He's gone off into the runoff, so Liam's storming to the middle part of the pack of this race. He was in 2nd place 2 laps ago, and already down to 5th. Ben now all over the back. He's caught that group straight away, so he's gone down the inside of Luke to take 13th place. Luke didn't fight that at all. Got his own race to run. So Nathan, though, after all that confusion, has got a good lead. Obviously Jake and Lewis losing a bit of time. Sean storming back after passing a couple cars. Liam still storming to the back of the field, because now here comes Adam down the inside. A little bit of contact, pushes Liam out wide onto the curb sideways, and he loses a lot of grip, and his tyres will be a bit messy through this Stavelo corner. And now onto the straight. He's got problems with the Benetton Ford of Chris. Chris looks around the outside of Blanchimont. Maybe he saw Lewis do that, but he thinks better of it. Maybe down the inside of Blanchimont, but yep, Liam's got that covered. And it looked like Adam might have been letting Liam back through there. I saw him pull over to the side. Yeah, he has. So obviously feeling a bit guilty for that contact with Liam, so he's done the right thing, let him back through. Probably talking over the chat as well to sort it out. Ben down the outside of Leon, up into 12th place. But this is costing him time. Fighting with these boys is fun, but it's not great for your race progress. Dean in 15th place, starting to close in on them. But it's Nathan that leads from Jake. Then it's Lewis, Sean, Liam, Adam and Chris. Then it's Nick, Will, and a pretty big gap back to Brian. Brian, then Nick, then Ben. Then it's Leon, Luke, and then bit of a gap back to Dean, and then another big gap back to Michael, and there he is. Wow, let's have a breather here then. So everyone's now starting to settle down in this race. There'll be various strategies. Again, I'll remind you that the hard tyre only has to be used for 1 lap. When you do that, it's entirely up to you, as Ben now tries to work on Nick, who's getting a bit all sideways and up the curbs, and Ben will slide down the inside and take that position. Nick's gone really wide there and allowed the other 2 guys to come through, which is Luke and Leon. So not a good lap for Nick as his teammate continues to close in. But Nathan, what a start for him. He'll be well pleased with that. He's got a good little gap, and if he'll be now watching the gap back to Jake continuously. But Jake's got his own issues. He's got Lewis coming after him. Lewis in the number 5 car. Could have won the last race, but with a few issues and being held up quite a lot, didn't manage to challenge Jake in the end. But now he's challenging Jake as they go into the bus stop round the outside. But no, nothing doing there. Jake manages to cover that quite well, and Lewis doesn't time that switchback very well. And now he might even come under pressure from the charging Ferrari that's behind him of Sean. Sean closing in on these 2, no doubt about it. And they're dropping Liam in that pack as well. So looks like we've got a 4 or 5 way fight for the lead. All depends what happens with the other Ferrari and maybe even Adam. Speaking of the other Ferrari, he's now caught Brian for 10th place. Remember, he started on hard tyres. Ferrari switching their, well, splitting their cars. Sean starting on the softs, Ben starting on the hards, and Lewis not giving up on Jake, so this is even better for Nathan. These guys fighting will help him. Lewis looked a bit sideways there on the exit. He keeps place. His wheel goes into combat with Nick. Ben now onto the back of Brian, should be able to slide down the inside into Lecom. And just about gets that done. Brian driving a good first stint. He stayed out of trouble and he's ahead of the guys that he expected to be fighting, and here they are. And Leon dropping back a little bit as well, so he's had a moment, but Nathan will be enjoying this. And look at his lap times. How consistent do you want to be? Jake's been quicker over one lap, but over the period of the start of this race, over the first 4 or 5 laps, he's not been able to match Nathan's consistency, and that's what's given Nathan the lead. Ben already pulling away from Brian, and his next victim would be Nick. So we see Nick and Luke battling out, so Nick's come back through on that group. Luke looks the faster car, he normally is. He's normally challenging the midfield, Luke, so he's one of the surprises of the season, as we've mentioned before, and he's already trying to get past Nick now as they run towards Blanchimont. They're going to have to sort this out before they get there, surely. And round the outside for Luke, gets it done. Nick doesn't fight it too hard. It's a long race. Sean has closed in on Lewis though. We saw that previous lap up at Lecom, and now he's trying to get past the Williams. Here comes the Ferrari. He's made a few moves today already, and now he's going to have to look around the outside as they head towards Lecom, down the Kemmel Straight. Pulls out. Now it's going to take a bit of cooperation from each other to get through this corner side by side. Sean's done it though, I think he's got it done, and that moves the Ferrari driver up to 3rd place, and now he can go after Jake. He seems to have a good speed in the car. So you continue to watch down through the midfield. There's Nick. He's got a good gap back to Ben, who's on the charge but not producing the lap times he would want to because of the traffic that he's had to get past, but Brian's still doing a good job and bending off these guys as the 2 Tyrrells go into combat. So Dean has already got past Leon as he starts his charge, and now he needs to get down the inside of his teammate. I'm sure that Nick won't fight it too much. Well, he does, but Dean gets through anyway, and that's him up into 12th place, I believe. But Nathan still with his consistent lap times, in fact a personal best last time through, and well, at the moment Jake can't live with that. Sean trying to break away from Lewis. Liam kind of in a bit of no man's land, a bit like the previous races this season. He felt like he had good pace, and practice definitely showed it. But again, few errors in this race have put him back to 5th when he was 2nd. And the Ferrari and Williams have still not finished their fight, and Jake's into the pits. Lewis follows him. So we have our first pit stops, slightly earlier than expected, to be fair. So it'll be interesting to see what tyres they put on. The number 1 McLaren then. Championship leader Jake Hill, and he's away, so that tells me he's gone onto the hard tyres, and probably Lewis has done the same. Yep, there you go. Look down the graphic, and the bottom left tells you the tyres. RS means soft and RH means racing hards, and the 2 McLarens flash through Eau Rouge and through Radion, and well, Lewis has to give up there to a Jordan of Adam, but again I would think this will be a bit of team play. Jake should be able to get the run on his teammate and pass him at Lecom, and that's looking like it's going to happen. Yep, so despite being on the harder tyre, and well, Lewis hasn't managed to pull that same move with Adam, so he's going to lose time there. Chris has come out on his hard tyres ahead of Ben, so again he'll probably do the 1 lap on those because those tyres are about 2 or so seconds slower around this track, just because of the high speed nature of it, of the corners especially. Do tend to lose you a bit of time. Sean up to 2nd now, so he's recovered well from his opening lap when he got a bit involved with all the shenanigans and got a bit out of place, put down about 6th place, but back up to 2nd now, and he can chase after Nathan. Someone needs to, because Nathan's getting away. Ferrari in 10th, the 2nd Ferrari in 10th, moving up slowly. Brian still fighting, but he's got Dean coming after him. So is Luke. Nick's dropped back even more, so that's probably a spin or a pit stop. But when will Nathan pit? Don't think it's going to be this lap. Nope, he's carried on. Why not? Look at those laps still. The consistency in that is what's pulling him away. Sean's had enough of these tyres and pits. He hasn't quite got the same pace. So we got our first Ferrari pit stop of the day. And in comes Sean. This will be a set of softs again, I think. He's probably going to do something a bit different to the others. As Chris comes in the pits, Lewis is in, and I'd imagine Jake's come in as well as Liam, Adam, Nick, and a few more. There's quite a lot of people in the pits. I think half the grid's in the pits at the moment. We'll try and cover it. So Sean comes back out on softs, and quite a lot of fuel. He's just beaten Dean there. Liam comes out behind Dean. Jake's ahead of Dean, and they're both on softs as well. Dean got a good run at Jake there, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. So go through Eau Rouge. Lewis is out behind Liam, as we said. This is Adam in. Nope, sorry, that's Leon. So Nathan leads this race now from Will, then Ben up in third. So that shows you how many people have pitted, because he was 10th a lap ago. So Liam with Lewis all over him, and it was surely not long before Lewis gets through on the fresher tyres. Should be able to get a good run out of one of the corners and slingshot past. So is this the lap that Nathan finally pits? Will's looking like he needs a pit stop. Fuel's very low. Ben's got a bit more, he can go a bit longer, but he's got Adam just behind him, so there's been a change there. He came out behind, or Adam came out in front of Ben, so there's been a change. I'm sure we'll get to that. And ooh, very wide from Nick, keeps it on the island though. As we see Nathan pits, and Nathan's in. So let's see what happens there, and Will's in as well. Nathan using quite a lot of fuel in that stint, but he didn't have any slipstream, so it makes sense. Adam comes in, gets rid of those hard tyres that we saw him leave the pits on, and Nathan leaves the pits. And this was a lap ago then, so Adam left the pits just in front of Ben. Ben's got a good run through Eau Rouge and Radion up the Kemmel Straight, and he'll try and go around the outside. I take it he did, because that's why we're watching this. Around the outside of Adam into the car, and gets that done. It's the favourite move today by the looks of it. And fast forward a lap, and Ben's come out in front, well sorry, Nathan's come out behind Ben, so Ben now leads the race from the back of the grid in the Ferrari. Second is Nathan at the moment. Sean's third in the other Ferrari, so at the moment it looks good for Ferrari, but obviously they're a little bit off on pit stops, so let's see what happens at the end. A few others coming out the pits, just trying track who they are, but now we've got Lewis all over the back of Liam. He's had to wait a lap to get this done, but now he's got the inside, and that's a slam dunk, and he's past Liam. Liam on pretty good tyres, so he's just not able to keep the pace of these guys, which is a shock considering practice. And Chris around the outside of Nick doesn't get it done. A bit of contact between them, and well, Chris has kept the place. Nick's rammed him up the back again. I know Nick was worried about all the contact, but it does seem to be coming from him. There's Dean up to 11th now from the back. Luke in 14th and Nick in 15th. There's Michael Pitts, and he's very much 16th. Nathan's caught Ben, and this is losing him time. The Ferrari on his way to a pit stop, still in front of the Williams. Nathan should home in now though, with the slipstream all the way up towards the bus stop chicane. It's flat all the way through this corner easily, even on worn tyres. Ooh, Nathan kicks up the curb. He's very lucky to get away with that. But I'd expect Ben to come in this lap or the next. And well, he's chosen this lap. He doesn't want to battle Nathan and cost himself time. But that's helped his teammate close in a little bit, so maybe a bit of Ferrari team tactics there. In comes Ben on the alternate strategy. Ferrari deciding to split it. And look at this gaggle coming towards the bus stop. So who we got here? Chris, Nick and Adam. Adam we know's recently pitted. He's ran the hard tyres, so that's why he's out of position at the moment. Will comes in off the hard tyre as well. so he's ran that for a lap. Ben comes out, looks like he's filled up there, and obviously he'll be on the softs because of having run the hard tyre at the start on the first lap. And oh, look at this mess that he's come out behind, and well, this just confirming that his strategy was not the right one. He's in the pack again, and every time he leaves the pits there's an absolute armada of cars that come past him. So yeah, Ferrari have messed this up a little bit. Well, Ben has. As Chris and Nick carry on their duel, and they're literally rubbing wheels and tyres and all sorts. Ben deep into Lecombe. Adam's got a chance now. Adam try and get past Ben. They're both on pretty similar strategies, well, as of now anyway, because they both run the hard tyres at different times, but this is a net battle on the track. You're on 12th. Go back through the field. Brian's in 15th now, so he's dropped back again during the pit stops. But it is Nathan that leads Sean up to second, but Sean with a little bit less fuel. Yep, with quite a lot less fuel, so this is pretty close. Sean has been closing in during this race slowly. And there's Sean. Where's Jake? Here he is on the way up to Blanchimont, but Nathan I think's got a pretty good lead at the minute. I think Jake's in that second. There's Lewis, he's battling Sean definitely for third, and it's Liam who's kind of out of touch, kind of a bit mixed up on the pit stops, so we'll have to see where he ends up. Ben all over the back now of Chris, but Chris has got the slipstream from Nick, so again this is not good for the Ferrari driver. He doesn't need this, he needs to get past him as ASAP. Down the inside, can he? No. Chris is trying to go on the outside of Nick. He's going to try a switch back, and he times that perfectly, but can he get the grip and the power down? Side by side across the line. Chris had it as they crossed the line, but inside's Nick's for the source. And Ben now trying to take advantage of that, and he's got the Benetton. He's past Chris. Now he needs to get Nick out of the way as they head down towards Eau Rouge, and Radion again. Easily flatten these cars. Absolutely on the limit. Over the top. Ben's got a good run on Nick, but Ben's got Chris all over the back of him as well. And Chris is getting a double slipstream. He'll go through the middle, so now we're going 3 wide. Why not? This is going to be fun until they come. One of them's going to have to back out of this. And in they go. Ferrari's around the outside, takes both of them. And oh, Chris and Nick have knocked each other again and a bit more. So, well, it's a bit tit for tat between those two. Adam's taking advantage of that though. He's got up the inside of Chris. So Chris falls back a couple positions. But brilliant race. Brilliant bit of racing there, and that was 3 wide on the way to Les Combes. And minimal contact, just the Leighton House tapping the Ferrari, but no big issue. Nathan won't care about that. He's still trying to pull away from Sean, but Sean's just done the fastest lap of the race. And Jake as well, starting to build up a bit of speed and try and close in on those guys. Ben looks like he's nailed on 6th at the moment, but he's going to have to really improve his pace if he wants to get any better than that. Chris and Nick carry on the battle, but Nick seems to have had a crash, and Nick's gone off into the wall, and that looks like the end of his race. Well, I think he gave as good as he got, Nick, to be honest, with the contact. I know he's left the series because of the contact, but to me it looked like it was kind of 6 to 1 and half a dozen the other. I think he can really complain. Over Radion comes Sean, still in hot pursuit of Nathan, but Nathan's responded with a 54.7, and Sean can't match that with 55.2. Jake doing a 55.0, so he's steadily increasing his speed. Liam's fastest lap there for him, 55.9. Ben 55.7. That included a freeway overtake, and he's rocketed away from these guys as they continue their battle for 7th place. Adam desperate to get past that Benetton. So he's on a similar strategy to Ben right now, from now on anyway, and he needs to get past that Benetton, and maybe now is the time. He needs to make sure he gets this done. He can go on about his race then. He set the fastest first sector because of the slipstream, but it looks like he's got it done ahead of Chris. Chris trying to switch back, and he's trying to go around the outside, and that's a brave move. He can get it done. Adam will have the inside again now for the next corner, down the inside. Ooh, bit of contact. Chris tried to turn in, but Adam was already there. Now he's got his teammate all over him, Will. It's been a bit quiet in this race, but he's slowly getting on with the job. And now he'll want to get past his teammate. I'm sure he won't have too much hassle doing that, especially as they're on different strategies. See if we can flash back to Will. We'll go back to Will. We can see how much fuel he's got. Chris just under half a tank, and well, they can see Will's got a lot more fuel and better tyres. So if they had any sense, they'd swap around at the moment and try and get Will up the road a bit more. See if he can chase after Adam. Right now they're not doing that, so Will's stuck behind his teammate through the middle sector, and he'll try and make the move as they head towards the bus stop. Dean in 10th, so he's steadily moving through and not too far behind these guys. But here's your leader heading through Eau Rouge, and he's not that far ahead of Sean. Sean's not quite now matching Nathan, who's back into his consistent mid 55s. Jake still lurking with intent as the Benettons finally sort that situation out, and Will can go chasing after Adam as Dean starts to home in on the Benetton of Chris. He's a long way ahead of Leon. He's got Luke chasing him, and we've got Nick and Brian who are having a personal fight for 13th. So Nathan again down in the low to mid 55s, and that's the story of his race really. It's a great pace. You see Sean now up in the high 55s, not quite there. Jake in the low 55s as well, so he's matching Nathan. They're both pretty much not matching each other for pace, lap after lap. Lewis's pace has dropped a little bit, and Liam really can't get Liège right. Been off there a couple times now, and again, just quite surprising he doesn't quite have the pace tonight. In the second McLaren, Ben charging after him with high 55s. This is all gonna, as usual with these races, it all come to light at the end when everyone's used the hard tyre. Normally the last lap you can figure out where we're at. Until then it's a bit of a jumble with everyone doing something different. But to me the battle for the lead looks like it's between Nathan, Sean and Jake. Lewis might have a chance, depends on the pit stops, as Sean pits from second. Quite a lot of fuel left, so it's quite a surprise that he's coming that early. See what he can do. Maybe feeling like he's losing too much time to Nathan, so try something a bit different. 10 laps to go in this race. Probably would have been good for another lap or two, so he's just feeling like he's losing time with those tyres. And he's decided to go onto the hard tyre, and he'll come out ahead of Liam. Is that? Has he got ahead of Liam? No, Liam's gone around the outside of him, so that's not such a bad thing, because with those hard tyres he shouldn't be as quick as Liam, so he'll just benefit from the tow. Or will he try to overtake him? Well, he's going to have a go, I think, and it's going to be the usual outside at Le Combe, but with the tyres he's got it's going to be harder because they are hard. And no, he's not able to get that done. And in fact, Sean's lost it on the curb. He's spun up the wheels on the curb and into the wall, so disaster for Sean, who was in the battle for the lead of this race. And well, these tyres cost you a lot of time as it is. You don't need to lose time like that, and he needs to get on with it. His teammate now closing in 6th, and Sean's wide again, and he's going to kick up the dust, and that'll compromise him for Liège. The next corner, oh, sideways. And again, yeah, you run wide. Yeah, it's just as soon as you get dirt on your tyres, you are knackered for the next corner. And he's lost out to his teammate now, who's still charging after Liam. And well, Sean, a disaster on the hard tyre, and that's going to cost him at least 5-6 seconds. And any hope that he probably had of winning this race, you can't make mistakes against the likes of Nathan, Jake and Lewis. You will be punished, and disaster for him. We've gone back to Dean. What's happened here? And it looks like he's had a disconnect because he's not in control of that car. It's doing all sorts of funny things on the gravel, and well, that's a disaster for Dean. He was just coming back through the field, had a good chance of fighting the Benettons at the end, but not to be today, and that's him out of the race. So we've had two retirements from the race. Nick in the Leighton house, who just rage quitted by the looks of it, and Dean with a disconnect, so he won't be happy with that. Jake comes in from second place then. Going to try something a little bit different, I think, because this is earlier than we expected. So what's Jake going to do? Well, he's used the hard tyre, I think, so it's a case of putting the softs on. How much fuel will he put in? Will he try and go to the end? I don't think he can. I think a full tank's about 8 laps. with a bit of fuel saving. Sean's in as well. Lewis is pitted at the same time, which he's just following Jake's strategy by the looks of it. They're both on the same strategy. So Jake comes out in second place still. Well, these two are very close. Look how that's how much it's cost Sean. Look, he would have been ahead of Lewis. So that hard tyre run really has cost Sean, but he can sort that out now by getting past Lewis. I think he's short field as well, which I don't really understand for Sean, because he could have gone to the end on those tyres. If Sean had filled up the fuel, he could have gone to the end of this race. So he's decided not to, so he's going to have to stop again. Lewis is good to go to the end. And Will in front of them. Ben up into third, but again, he needs to stop again. Nathan, we know, has to stop again. Jake, we think, has as well. Yeah, he hasn't got enough fuel. So Ben definitely has to stop again. He's third. Adam definitely has to stop. Fourth. Will fifth. Might get away with that fuel. But who's this? This is Sean up the inside of Lewis, so he's not wasting any time. He needs to get past him and pull away. We know he's probably made a mistake and not filled up the tank. So he needs to get on with it now and pull away from Lewis. He needs to get about 5-6 seconds to have any chance of putting a bit of fuel in and getting out in front of Lewis as Liam goes off at Liège again. I'm starting to think that's his line through that corner, but it'll mess him up through Pouon. He won't be able to carry the speed that the others do through that. See, he's about 5 or 6 mile an hour down then on the entry speed of Chris. Nathan in then. This is an important pit stop. This will be to run the hard tyre. Yep, out he goes. So he'll run that for a lap. Then when he comes out, we'll get a true reading of where he is with Jake. So as he heads down towards Eau Rouge, Jake coming out the last corner. But we noticed Nathan didn't put a lot of fuel in, so his next stop's going to be a lot longer. Jake just ahead of Ben, who has still got a pit. Adam pits then for what should be the last time. And look at this pack. This is Sean with Will behind, and then Lewis. So Lewis needs to dispatch Will pretty quickly, and Sean needs to get on with it, because he's definitely messed up there with the pit stop. He needed to fill that tank up, and he could have gone to the end with probably a bit of fuel saving on the last lap, but he would have done it. It's just cost himself an extra pit stop in my eyes. Adam leaves the pits with enough fuel to get to the end, so that's him. He's in 9th, and now we just have to see how many he can pick off at the end with the hard tyre rule. Some of these guys still need to run it. Lewis can't get past Will. Will's not really getting dropped by Sean. Sean needs to really get on with it, like I said. Needs to push that Ferrari to the limit now. I think Sean's starting to realise his mistake, I would have thought by now. And also be angry that he can't fight for the win, because he was definitely in contention. Lewis all over the back of Will, but he just cannot get the move done. And he's going to be stuck behind him for most of this middle sector, I think, as well. As Will makes a mistake. You can see that Sean's starting to stretch away now. I'm sure Lewis knows that he's got more fuel than Sean by now, so he doesn't have to rush this. He can do it at his own pace. Lewis looking good for a top 3 or 4. Nathan's pitted after running those hards, so now he needs to put the soft tyre on and put enough fuel in to get to the end, and then just hope that Jake doesn't catch him. So the soft tyres go on. Jake comes past the pits. Probably will take the lead, I think. Will still ahead of Lewis, so Lewis having a disaster. Will pits, so that's good news for Lewis. Nathan comes out, so in there quite a long time. Got enough fuel to get to the end. He comes out behind Ben. Sean 4th, Lewis 5th, Liam in 6th, Chris is 7th. But where's Will going to come out? Still in the pits. A lot of fuel in. 6 laps left. There's quite a lot of fuel that Will's put in, maybe too much, but he's away. And he's in 9th at the moment. Luke pits from 10th. He'll do the same thing, I would have thought, just get enough fuel in for the end. he goes, leaves the pits. Again, probably too much fuel, but better safe than sorry. He's come out in front of Leon. Nick and Brian dropping back a bit in 13th now. But here is the leader at the moment, Jake, but we think he's got a pit again. We don't think he's got enough fuel to get the end. In fact, we know he hasn't. That's about 2-3 laps of fuel there if you're lucky. Ben second, still has the pit. In fact, is running almost on the smell of an oily rag. He's running very low on fuel. Nathan third, we think is net race leader. After all this is shaken out. Sean, we think he's messed his strategy up a bit. Probably should have filled the tank up and just battled Lewis. Lewis dropping back in 5th at the moment. 6th is Chris, doing a great job. Top Benetton at the minute from Adam. And then Liam. Again, not having the greatest of races. Will as Ben pits from what was 3rd place or 2nd place. Leon all over the grass at Liège. He's got Nick not that far behind. So there goes Jake. Ben in the pits. Let's see where he comes out. And Sean pits at the same time, so that just proves one point. He wouldn't have had to do that pit stop and he would have been ahead of his teammate. So now he's had a pit again for another set of softs and more fuel. So this is where now we can see where the true sort of order is. I'm not expecting too many more pit stops, but Ben's come out just ahead of Chris, and Chris is all over him. He's going to have a good run through the Eau Rouge and up through Radion. We're on board with Chris. Now he's looking all over the back of the Ferrari. What can he do about it? Gives him a little nudge there, so he didn't quite time that right. Now he's got to get it right this time to go around the outside of Lecon, but on fresh tyres, can he get around the outside of the Ferrari? No, he can't. Can't outbrake him, and he's running out of fuel anyway, so he's due a pit stop, Chris. Only a few more stops to be made. We think Chris is making one. We know Liam's got to run the hard tyre, we think. So let's see. And Will's probably good to the end, yeah. So now pretty much we have what we have, except for Jake, who's got to make a pit stop, and Chris. So let's see what happens. And Liam, sorry for the hard tyre. So Jake, when will he pit? He's done a 53.9 during this stint, so he's absolutely on it. He knows what he's got to trying to do now to beat Nathan, who's just been Mr. Consistent. Mid 55s pretty much the whole race. He's only been in the 54s once. Ben in 4th, so that's obviously where he is against Chris, who's got a pit. So his teammate's going to be net 5th. Will as well. We need to see where this all shakes out. It's pretty confusing at the moment, but it will all come to light in a second, I would have thought. Jake staying out for another lap. Nathan will understand what's going on here. He'll be worried why Jake's in front of him, but Jake's basically decided to do 2 stops to Nathan's 1 in these last 10 laps, just trying to use pace to catch Nathan, because on the same fuel load they're pretty much the same speed. Chris pits. Let's see where he comes out. Doing a good job again. Fuel goes in, he won't need too much with only 4 or 5 laps to go. And here he goes. So he's put in probably about 3/4 of a tank, nearly 3/4 of a tank to get to the end. So there's 4 laps to go. This incredible race at Spa, round 3 of the SBR F1 Championship, and cars looking amazing as usual here in the Ardennes forests. But Jake absolutely scorching along. Nathan continuing with his mid 55s, but Jake's up in the high 54s now, and this is bringing him back into contention. Definitely, he's had a pretty quiet race for Jake, but he's really getting on with it now. That 53.9 is literally night and day quicker than anyone else. But again, obviously he did it on low fuel with fresh tyres. These cars, the fuel making a lot of difference around this track, not really the tyres. And Nathan held up a little bit there by Michael, was he, as he lapped him. The Ferraris are charging now, and they're trying to catch Lewis, who's 10 seconds up the road, so they've got a lot of work to do. And there's Liam, who's again dropping back a little bit, but he's had a Will now. Will's had that pit stop. Jake's into the pits, so he's making his final stop, and here he is. And he wants a hat-trick of victories. Let's see where he comes out compared to Nathan. Nathan's, well, according to the graphic, Nathan's gone into the lead. He's just going around La Source now, so yeah, he will take the lead. Jake leaves the pits now, so let's see the gap. He'll come out in second, I think. Yep, he has just beats Lewis, so those laps were really important. And I think everyone's going to have their tale of woe today. I think Nathan's the only one that's really had clear track today, and he's had the consistent pace to use it. Jake obviously having the battles at the start, losing time there. Lewis losing time in traffic after his pit stops. Same for Ben, same for Sean, who had that incident on the hard tyre, and I think he slightly messed up his strategy there in the last stop. He'll tell me different probably, but so everyone's got their tails of woe except for Nathan, who's just driven the wheels off his Williams and kept a great pace. He leads, but now he's going to have Jake chasing him down on low fuel and fresh tyres, and that is worth at least a second lap to what Nathan's got at the moment, which is slightly worn tyres. His tyres are about 3-4 laps older, remember, and he started using those tyres on a heavier fuel load. But this is the battle for 12th, and it's Nick trying to get up the inside of Brian, and it looks like the Tyrrell driver will get that done against the Brabham, and he's done it, up into 12th place. Good move from Nick. I think he's a bit far behind Leon to do anything about Leon, but we'll see. Nathan then, this look at the lead, and there's Jake. So it's, well, with 3 laps to go, it looks too big, but it depends what lap times Jake can do. Try and get a look on the gap. Lewis definitely in third, looks pretty much nailed on for that. The Ferraris are chasing after him with low 55s and a high 54 for Sean, so Sean trying to catch his teammate. He can't do anything else. I'd say the gap's around about 5.5 seconds, so Jake's got a lot of work to do in a short space of time. He needs to be about 2 seconds a lap quicker. Ben now in the mid 54s, his teammate high 54, so Ben reacting to his teammate, and they are really catching Lewis. He'll be hanging on with his tyres and fuel. Remember, he fueled to the end when we thought Sean should have. Liam in again, very late pit stop, so this must be for the hard tyre, and he's away. Well, our graphic is saying he's still on the softs, so bit of a confusing pit stop there for Liam. We think he might have messed up and pressed soft instead of hard, so well, that's a disaster for him for another race that's really not gone his way. And there you can see the gap. There's Nathan, there's Jake coming out of Liège, which is now Jackie X corner, I think. But there's Lewis, who's pretty much nailed on for third. Can we see the Ferraris behind? Yes, there's Ben just coming into view, and there's Sean chasing after his teammate, going wide. And just look at the speed of these cars into Pouhon. They are on the limit. These Ferraris are really pushing after that Williams. Adam doing another sound job in 6th for the Jordan ahead of Will, who looks like he's got 7th. But there's Liam, and we think he hasn't run the hard tyre yet, so he's going to fall behind Chris. So it could be a Benetton 8th and not, or 7th and 8th. And back to the back markers then, so Nick 12th, Brian 13th, and Michael in 14th. Still points though. Nathan exits the bus stop, and a 55.1, which is a good lap, but not as good as that, a 53.9, so 1.3 seconds pulled out of him by Jake on the opening lap there. Lewis though, you can see how much closer the Ferraris are getting, but it's just going to be too late. I think 2 laps to go, and 55.1, 55.3, so Ben just starting to edge away now from Sean. Adam doing 57, so he's not a factor. And there's Will in the background. Will doing the low 57 as well. Liam out of position. We know he's got pit for the hard tyre after that mistake. Luke again impressing with 10th place in the Brabham. So a lap and a half to go. And that's the gap. Jake's closing with every corner, every straight. He's closing in on the Williams. He's almost in the same shot now. Has he got enough speed? Has he got enough time to catch that Williams? I don't think so. Lewis starting to struggle with those tyres. You can see he's getting a bit squirrely. And the Ferrari's absolutely storming after him. Blue flags out for Michael, who after last week's doing a good job. He's actually getting out of the way this time. A lot of that was to do with autopolish and the fact that it's quite hard to overtake there, even to get past back markers, but definitely a better job by Michael today. Liam trying to pull a gap to Chris before he makes that pit stop, and a couple more pit stops. Leon's made his last one onto the hard tyre. Brian will do the same. And Michael, but here's Nathan then, let's see, and he's definitely under pressure. He's starting to get out of shape. You haven't seen that, and there's Jake. Look at that gap, it's come down massively. It's 55.4 and 53.6. He's taken 2 seconds out of Nathan in one lap, and if he does that again, he's going to be close. Nathan's got to try and find a little bit on this last lap, I think, just to make sure. But Jake really making this a grandstand finish. Lewis looks like he's nailed on third, but the Ferraris have really halved the gap. It was 10 seconds when they left the pits. It's about 4 now. But I think Lewis is going to be safe with that one. As we see Liam realising his mistake, comes into the pits and almost crashes in the pit lane. But he'll put the hard tyre on for this last lap. And again, disaster for Liam in the second McLaren. He's not really had the season people thought he might have. And out he goes in 9th place, and really that's where he's going to finish. Luke's 10th. So we're back to the battle for the lead, half a lap to go into Pouhon. Nathan's got this, I think. Can't see Jake behind him. No, you can't see him in the same shot, but he's still trying. He's not going to give up, and there you can see it. It's about 1.5 to 2 seconds now, so I think Nathan's found enough to respond. Jake all over the outside curb trying to catch up, but I think Nathan's going to do this, and Jake's not going to be able to close in, and even if he does, he's not going to be able to overtake. So heading towards the bus stop for the final time. Nathan, if he's got enough fuel, is going to win this race, his first of the season, and the first non-Jake win in round 3 at Spa. SBR F1 is going to go to Nathan Tompkinson in the Williams number 6, and he beats Jake Hill number 1 in the McLaren Honda. And in third place will be Lewis, although just because there's the Ferraris. So Lewis Edwards third in the number 5 Williams, and it's going to be Ben Milden 4th if he doesn't crash in the Ferrari. 5th Sean Cole in the other Ferrari, number 27. So he won't be happy losing to his teammate again, but a few issues in that race for him. 6th is looking like Adam in the Jordan Ford, but he's been massively caught by Will Freeman in the Benetton Ford behind him. So 6th and 7th for them. 8th is going to be Chris, good drive for him in the Benetton Ford, the second car, in 8th place. 9th is going to be Liam, who want to forget about this and this season as a whole so far. The McLaren Honda takes his penalty, finishes 9th. 10th is going to be Luke in the Bram Yamaha, the Martin Brundle car of the day, and good points again for Luke. He'll be fairly pleased with that. Not too far behind that battle, to be honest. 11th is going to be Leon, good points again in the Jordan, or is it? Leon's starting to slow down a bit. I think he's really low on fuel and he's struggling to get to the end. Nick's closing in fast with the Tyrrell Honda. They've had a bad day with Dean dropping out, but it looks like Nick could salvage 11th place here. He's going around the outside of Jordan, of Leon. Leon's running out of fuel and has nothing left to fight him with, although he's going to at least try and get to the line in front. But no, he can't do it. He's throttled up too much and spun it. So Nick takes 11th in the Tyrrell Honda. Leon takes 12th in the Jordan, and 13th will be Brian Ross in the second Brabham Yamaha, and 14th already is Michael, who's a lap down. So Brian didn't get lapped in this race, and a good race from him. Well done Brian for 13th. That's the results. So Nathan wins from Jake, Lewis, Ben, Sean, Adam, Will, Chris, Liam, Luke, Nick and Leon. Jake setting the fastest lap, 53.6 on lap 22, and he was chasing after Nathan. And then below that we have Brian in 13th, Michael 14th, Dina get 15th, and Nick rage quitted for 16th. So the standings, Jake leads the championship still, but it's only a 7-point gap now ahead of Nathan with that win. Then it's his teammate Lewis, then the Ferraris of Ben and Sean on the same points. Then it's Liam, and Will moves ahead of his teammate Chris, and Adam. Luke still in 10th place, doing a great job. Dean 11th after that disconnect. And the team's points, Williams ahead of Ferrari and McLaren on the same team points, ahead of Benetton, Jordan, Brabham, Tyrrell and Leighton House. We'll see you next week for Monza. Can Ferrari win at home?